I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. Those stupid people.
美方威胁升级对华关税是错上加错。
谈大门敞开，打中方也将奉陪到底。
中国人不惹事，也不怕事。
Because they have an export-driven, flood the world with cheap export models.
所有这一切都说明美国滥施关税，正在坑惨美国民众。
Because China imprudently decided to retaliate against the United States.
中方采取反制措施，完全是正当之举。
No other president would have done what I did. No other president. I know the presidents. They wouldn't have done it.
Hello everyone, today I want to speak about tariffs. And I think I've got some credibility to speak about that and the impact it will have on the world, you know, what Trump is doing. Because I don't know if you know already, but to Chinese, I'm a foreigner. But to Westerners, I'm like the Chinese guy because I lived in China, I can speak Chinese fluently, my family is half Chinese, you know, and that's not even the half of it. I've been traveling a lot, you know, I've been like a nomad digital, bouncing around Europe, Asia, the US, of course. And my job was into international trade. I was in the import-export business. I was the owner of a company in Hong Kong and then in the US. And now I'm deep into decentralization, you know, globalization, this decentralized world, the blockchain. And so I'll even be in the US next month for the Bitcoin conference. I hope that I can meet with Michael Saylor when I'm there to ask him a few questions about what he is doing and what he thinks about all that. If you have questions too, you can ask me on Telegram. My link is in the description. That's my personal Telegram. And yeah, don't hold back if you have questions about decentralization and blockchain, of course. Just ask me. Anyway, right now, let's talk about what's happening in April 2025. In just a few days, we've seen tariffs between the world's two biggest economies skyrocket, the US and China. Everything started at 10%, then it jumped to 34% on top of what was already in place, you know. Then it was 84%, and now, I think this morning, it was 125%, but I think, yeah, maybe they changed that to 145% while I was sleeping. That's crazy. And as someone who's been in the trade game, you know, who has lived among regular people of all kinds of countries, and of course, who is a French man, increasingly sold on the power of decentralization, I want to break this down from a global perspective. These big political moves, they don't just stay at the top, they hit real people like you and me, everyday folks, in ways we can't ignore. So to prepare for this video, I've been glued to the news from both sides on my computer. You know, in China, I checked out official reports. Bilibili is kind of the Chinese YouTube. Also on Weibo, it's kind of the Chinese Twitter. Douyin is the TikTok version, Chinese version of TikTok. And yeah, and more. I'll share a few with you. And in the US, of course, it's been on Twitter, YouTube, official statements from the White House, a ton of data. And Europe too. I need to speak about Europe. Just a little bit, not much. But yeah, my goal today is to step back, to see the big picture, to be as neutral as I can as someone who has been all around the world and show you how people in different countries are feeling about these tariffs and what kind of impact they are bracing for. If you wonder what the Chinese are thinking of all that, we will see that together. So first, it's crystal clear that this tariff tsunami, kicked off by the Trump administration and met with China's quick counterpunch, is a showdown between those two heavyweights. And let's lay out some facts. The first fact is that the US import way more from China than China does from the US. China is the world's manufacturing giant, you know, while the US is a powerhouse for patents and innovation. And they are like, we could say, the richest country of the world, so they are consumers. It's normal. I think we had something quite stable. You know, on one end, the global factory, and on one end, the global brain, if you want. But this tariff war isn't just about trade deficits or import and exports. This stuff has been going on for years. So why is it blowing up now? I think that both sides have reasons they can't back down. China is pushing hard for industrial and tech upgrades, while the US is desperate to fix its hollowed out industrial base. Heck, that's probably why Trump's out here taking heat. He's trying to flip the script for America. But here is the thing about wars, even trade wars. There's always collateral damage, and more often than not, it's regular people who end up paying the price. So let's see now how they are leaving that in China first. I will record my screen and develop that with you. Let me record my screen, sync the sound.
美国东部时间4月8号，美方将此前宣布的对中国输美产品加征34%所谓对等关税，进一步提高50%至84%。国务院关税税则委员会今天发布公告，自4月10日12时01分起，原产于美国的所有进口商品的加征关税税率由34%提高至84%。海关总署发布公告。
So here they are all serious about, the official announcements. They are not keeping the population in the dark. They are using that for political reasons too. They need the common enemy, that is the US for the moment. And you can hear the music, the stress, the anxiety in his voice. I think, the officials want to pass this message that we are under attack. It's a war.
近日，美国又犯了关税讹诈的老毛病。
老毛病. It means their old, sickness, their old problem. They are bringing that back again. That's
近日，美国威胁要进一步对
威胁. Here is accusing the US of threatening China with more taxes, tariffs. The vocabulary they use, it's always very funny to analyze when you can speak a few languages and see yes, we are threatened, but we will face that threat together. Yeah, they are uniting the population against this common enemy, as I was saying.
加征50%关税，商务部、外交部对此先后表示，中方必将奉陪到底。中国人不惹事，也不怕事。
We are not provoking you, but we are not afraid of you either. This rhetoric is really crazy to see. We are not the ones that have started that. Yeah, it really feels like a war.
加征所谓对等关税，这是典型的单边霸凌做法。中方采取反制措施，完全是正当之举。只许你出拳，不许我还手，这是哪个
？This one is funny too. You are hitting us, and you ask us not to retaliate. There is no logic in that. You cannot attack us. And while attacking us, threatening us, and telling us not to defend ourselves. Yeah, Trump did a tweet like that, or the White House, to not retaliate and everything will go fine, or something like that.
近日我们都注意到了，美国很多企业的股票跌了。
And then, we've seen what you've done, and your own economy is crashing. So that's funny. That's politics.
美国民众担忧物价飞涨，纷纷开启了囤货的模式。所以，美国相关人士也认为，这一关税政策将会推高美国通货膨胀。
And it's and now he's trying to stir up some internal, conflict in the US, talking about inflation in the US that will come as a result of that. All right. From what I'm seeing here, the official stance is rock solid. It's you want to hit us. We will hit back harder. Let's see who blinks first. So it's funny. It's like a match. Yeah, it's like a war. It's funny to look at that until you remember what I told you just before. And you understand that there will be some impact on the regular people, like regular Chinese folks. So a lot of them seem to agree. Yes, this might hurt, but we are for China pushing back. I can share with you a video that I saw on Bilibili. Let me find that back. This Bilibili creator nails what a lot of people are really feeling. I think it was this one.
老师，事到如今啊，我只能说这个枪击 Trump 的托马斯，你太该死了，菜就多练。你看这枪射偏了，全球经济都成什么样了 ？Trump 的关税战落地后啊，美国股市先跳为敬，全球跟着暴跌。34%关税反击虽然最快最狠，但舆论真没必要庆祝啊！我还纳闷呢，怎么还扬我国威上了？不知道。
I really like this one. He's really aggressive against Trump, and he really expressed the voice of a lot of patriotic Chinese. And he is really optimistic too. If you can understand Chinese, maybe I will put the links in the description below. But what I discovered after that is that not everyone is feeling that optimistic though. I'll share with you another video that I found on Douyin. This guy works in international logistics, so a little bit like me before, and he's straight up freaking out. Let me put the sound on.
加了50%，做美加线全线崩盘呀！客户大票的退仓。
He's really getting crazy about that. And he's saying that his customers are canceling orders. I was in the import-export business before, and when we have stuff like that, at first we can resist. We can plan ahead, like buying Forex We can buy, like first buy renminbi, Chinese yuan, in prevision of our, next order, so we are not impacted by the USD to CNY exchange rate. But tariffs, it's something else, and this time everything is coming together, so there is a lot of uncertainty, and maybe today it's okay, but tomorrow they will pause the tariffs, and then the day after they will start it again on, and like put tariffs twice as strong. As an importer, as someone working like him in the import-export business or logistics, we can't work in this kind of uncertainty, and that's what Trump wants, I think. But yeah.
我怎么活呀？中美贸易战那个火在我的头上，啪啪啪啪啪。有些东西会分配国家是你妈加拿大过来凑什么热闹？为什么说美加线它是一条线？那个货物到美国之后走保税卡车来加拿大，或者到加拿大之后再走保税卡车去美国。
Yeah, it's impacting all his business in America, not just in the US, because all the roads are like linked. If you want to export something to Canada, maybe you have to transit from the US and stuff like that.
或者转火车，他们俩以前像一个形影不离的姐妹，现在分决裂了。他给他
Yeah, he's insisting on the relation between the US and Canada deteriorating too. So yeah, he's getting freaking out, thinking of all what's happening, and it's happening so fast. I totally get his pain. I worked a lot in my last years in the import-export business just before retiring and like turning to blockchain. I was working a lot with e-commerce shops, store owners, and they will be the first to feel the fear about what's coming. I see Amazon sellers are starting to talk about raising prices already, just a few days in. And it's crazy. But what's even crazier, I think that even though those Chinese store owners are stressed, a lot of them still back China's counter tariffs. On the comments on this video, the first one I show you on Bilibili, I saw a lot of comments. Some comments were like, Chinese people, they can endure things like that. They are not afraid. As the media guy just said earlier, they say, no matter how long they want to keep doing that, we will go with them too. And some others were cheering up their comrades, it's like very communist, and saying, okay, keep it up, we will keep fighting until the end. Some people were also referring to their grandpa, grandma during the Great Famine, stuff like that, saying we are really lucky to be living the kind of life we are living now, so we can fight. We are not afraid. The vibe in these comments boils down to one thing, I think. Chinese people are tough. They are not afraid of hardship. They are ready for a long fight. And honestly, that's what I kind of find intimidating about China. I've lived there almost a decade, and I've never seen a group so united. Yes, they are a group. Even when you find them abroad, they are always together, like Chinatown and stuff like that. That's in their culture. They might sometimes, bicker among themselves, but when it's time to face the world, they are locked in together. Their collectivism is next level. Sometimes it feels like they are saying, if it keeps the group strong, if it keeps the country strong, I'm okay sacrificing my own happiness. And I'll be real, this kind of mindset freaks me out a bit, because in France we are more individualists, in the US too. And I don't know if it's fair for people, to give up so much for others. What do you think? I'm curious. Drop your thoughts in the comments. But yeah, I'm still wrapping my head around it. But yeah, here's my take. China is probably going to take a bigger hit than the US in this tariff war. A 125% tariff on most Chinese goods, or 145% on Chinese goods. That's basically a death sentence for a lot of exporters. Cross-border e-commerce, textiles, electronics, they are staring down a disaster. We might see factories shutting down, supply chains breaking, and worst of all, a wave of unemployment that's gonna worry a lot of folks. Plus, the Chinese yuan is under serious pressure. It's already hit its lowest point in 18 years. A weaker yuan could spark capital flight, which would shake up the economy even more. Not to mention the massive work of rebuilding, supply chains. This isn't about just numbers. It's going to mess with people's livelihoods big time. But yeah, like I said earlier, even with all this pain, China has got this insane resilience and national pride. This kind of external pressure might actually make them double down and come together even more. So who is going to cave first? China or the US? Honestly, I'm not sure. I think they can endure a lot. Now let's flip over to the US. What do Americans think about these tariffs? Compared to China, where opinions, feel super unified. The US is a mixed bag. People are all over the place. You've probably heard of Trump's America First strategy. Even back in his first term, he was making bold moves, building the border wall with Mexico, pulling out of the Paris climate agreement, all kind of stuff like that. Now, tariffs are his big play. That America First vibe resonates with his base of, fans. Folks who tend to be lower income, big on traditional values, and love a tough stance on immigration and trade. You'd think a hardline policy like global tariffs would have them cheering, but it's not that simple. When Trump took office in January, polls showed 42% of Americans thought his policies would boost their wallets. But after the tariff announcements, same number, 42%. But now they are saying his policies are going to hurt their finances. Even among Republicans, less than half are still feeling hopeful. Americans want Trump's focus more on prices, not tariffs. We have some good data here. Let's have a look. You see, Trump is too much concentrated focusing on putting tariffs than lowering prices. He's more focused about this war with other countries, this, negotiation tactics, and not enough about people, daily life, the impact that can have on their lives. Yes, this one. Trump's policies are making you financially better off, worse, or the same. So here is what I just said. In January, when he was freshly elected, 42% was thinking they were better off, but now they think they are worse. That's the view of the American people. They are very polarized about, what Trump is doing now. So why the flip? Simple. Americans are practical, pragmatic. They care about whether their money still works at the end of the day. What's funny is, a recent survey said 24% of folks think tariffs are paid by foreign companies and won't hit local prices. They're like, hey, just stock up on eggs, stuff like that. But 68% believe these costs get passed to consumers, meaning higher prices, inflation. Funny thing is that only 5% think tariffs will actually lower costs. So most people are worried life is about to get pricier. I think it was in this article too. Yeah, it's here. So now, let's do the same as we did with China. Let's have a peek at what folks are saying on social media. I saw a lot of funny things on social media. Let's share a few and analyze that.
Well, it looks like China fucked around and find out. Up and away we go. President Trump just raised the tariff on China.
So she looks like a fan. China fucked around and found out. I think a lot of people just hate China, so they like what Trump is doing. China's big story for the survive. This one is good for China. Excellent. All right. So we have some supporters for Trump, but it's polarized. I like this one. Yeah, that's the question I was asking earlier. Who bends the knee first? Who do you think will bend the knee first? What are you so happy about? Trump's not messing around. It's refreshing. I have to say, that's one thing I like about Trump. He is doing things. He has a view, he has a plan, and he is executing on it. We have to respect that. Yeah, this one is the art of the deal, It's Trump's negotiation tactic. Okay, let's have a look at another one.
For 90 days. After everything, he's decided to pause them.
Yeah, that's the problem with Trump. He's so unpredictable. He's doing all that crazy stuff about tariffs. And then, the second day, he pauses everything.
Are in an abusive relationship with a senile narcissist. Because of Trump's tariffs, global markets were crashing. Now, after the announcement of the pause, they're starting to bounce back. I have no explanation for why Donald Trump put a pause on these tariffs. It is a good thing.
It's a negotiation tactic. But this one here is really fired up against Trump. Senile narcissist, my God. About manipulating the markets, I've seen a lot of people saying that he is using that to do some insider trading too, he and his friends. So, yeah, we have to pay attention to that. That's a big problem too. Yeah, that's here. We have that here too. He's making, okay, they all have this, on this particular TikTok, they all have this kind of vision that he's doing some insider trading and using that for his own gain. Wait, there's another one. Is that the same guy? Oh no. There's another one. This one, I was really...
Of all countries. Hey, you fucking idiot. We had a trade surplus with Australia. We were benefiting more, and we put a 10% tariff. The lowest it can go under the new policy. Bullshit. You want to know?
Oh my god, that's harsh. But we don't have like the same thing that we could find with China. Like, you know, everyone getting together against the US, like as a group. Here we have like something really much more polarized, and it feels like it's election time again. My god. All the lies got 10% plus. And Russia got 0%. Oh yes, indeed. Yeah, it's all crazy, but it's really a problem that we have in the US too. Like, people are really... When they are either Democrat or Republican, it's really hard to have them change their mind. And that's why I'm putting Dave Portnoy here, because he is a big-time Trump supporter. But because of these policies, he lost like 7 million in one day, and in 3 days, I think it's 20 million. But he is still okay with that.
Doing what he ran on. So to turn around just because we've had 3 or 4 bad days in the stock market, super uncomfortable. My bigger thing at this point is, let's not pretend it's not a major issue. The stock market's tanking. We are going to have an economic meltdown.
But he's still okay with supporting Trump, it looks like. So that's really strange. What else do we have? Oh yes, there are a lot of like memes with people back in factories working like Chinese people in American factories now. But this one is funny.
For a new golden age.
Well, actually, we're not hiring anybody. All our positions are filled.
What?
My god, like everything now is using AI and robots. So the American people are doomed. They can't like go back to working in factories in the US. That's funny. But yeah, all in all, here is my takeaway. Trump promised tariffs would protect Americans, boost wages and create jobs. But if prices shoot up and wages don't budge, it's going to hit low-income folks and regular people the hardest. They are the ones who need affordable goods the most. Sure, Trump's aiming to make the US economy stronger, but for the average, Joe, the real question is, will prices chill out? Will paychecks grow? Will life actually get better? That's what's keeping people up at night, in the US. And I'm not sure at all. I think we are going in a major economic meltdown, as they just said. And it will be hard for the US people because they are not working as a group. They are not working together in those times of, in those chaotic times. So yeah, now I wanted also to speak a little bit about Europe, because Europe, we don't hear a lot about them. So for the French-speaking guys that are watching my videos, is France getting in this kind of crisis too? Yes, we think that we will be impacted too. Key sectors like aerospace, wine, luxury goods will be impacted. But what's the answer? What's the answer from Europe to all that? That's what's funny. It's also unclear. It's also really blurry. Like, I don't like this kind of stuff, In China, it's clear. They know what to do. They are ready to fight until the end. But in the US, they are fighting, all together, like in fight. And in Europe, we don't know what to do, or we say something, and then 2 days after, we just change our point of view. Like Ursula, von der Leyen. One day she said, we will not let all that happen to us. We will be resilient. We will fight. Yeah, like here. We will stand for Europe. We will promote and defend our interests and values. We will always stand up for Europe. That's what she says. But a few days later, she changed her stance, as they always do in Europe. And it was more like, we are ready to negotiate. Yeah, you see.
We have offered, we stand ready to negotiate with the United States.
And the stance is day and night. And 0 for 0 tariffs. We will remove everything, just like Trump's wants. We are giving up. That's Europe.
That's successfully done with many other trading partners, because Europe is always ready for a good deal.
Always ready for a good deal. A few days ago, it was like we are ready to stand up for Europe, to fight. At least we still have Germany. Germany, who considers withdrawing, they are negotiating, trying to negotiate with other parts of what they can do, like gold. The gold stockpile is in the US, in part. So we want to remove that gold. That's a negotiation point, but with Ursula, von der Leyen, already giving in. I don't know if it's of any use. But it was a good move. Let's see what common people are saying. It's an opportunity for us. Let's not be dependent on the US anymore. I kind of like that. That's a very big problem. Why did we create Europe? The European Union, the Euro, stuff like that. So that we could have like a multipolar world with the US and China and Europe. The goal, the aim was to have Europe as a strong power between these two superpowers. But we didn't manage to do that, and we are still like under the US influence. So maybe it's our chance to do something about that now. Is it the end of, crazy globalization? Are the cards being like reshuffled? There is hope for this one thinks to have hope in Europe, more than me at least. Europe sometimes, it's fragile, but we are moving forward. We are implementing reforms. We are uniting more than 400 million people around those common values. It's not the end of Europe, he says. All right, what do you think about that? I'm not that sure. The European project, was really great on the paper, when I was a kid. But with that bureaucracy we need some Department of Government agency, Department of Government efficiency, like Musk is doing in the US. We need that in Europe, especially in France, where bureaucracy is really hard. Without that, we cannot move forward, I think. But Europe is, as always, as we saw with von der Leyen, it's passive. It's getting impacted by all that. It's not taking power. It's not getting out of this situation we were in before. I feel that Europe, in the end, will be giving in either on the US part or on China part. But it's not getting stronger out of all that, at least not at the moment. So as for me, my buddies that are in France now who run, factories, they are already sweating about a new China shock. I think for Europe, the whole problem is that uncertainty, which spooks investors and businesses. It's a systemic risk. No one is getting out unscathed. Anyway, as a decentralization ambassador, watching all this unfold, I've got mixed feelings. And honestly, it's kind of unsettling. I get that this is a high-stakes game between nations, each with their own agendas. But for decades, we've been pushing for globalization, tearing down barriers so goods, money and people could flow freely, building a more connected world. Yet here we are. A few powerful people make a call, sign some papers, and bam! New walls go up overnight, screwing with millions of people's lives and future. When nations clash, the economy turns into a weapon, and guess who pays the price? Us. That's exactly why I'm more convinced than ever about the power of decentralization, and I have big hopes for what we will build, next month at the Bitcoin conference and this year, because stuff like blockchain and Bitcoin that I've been geeking out over, this isn't just me being idealistic. Think about it. With the UN under pressure and global trade in chaos, what if more money, just not from China but worldwide, starts flowing into blockchain? This space doesn't rely on some central bank's promises, politics or stuff like that. It runs on math and transparent code. When traditional currencies wobble, that's when decentralized systems start looking real attractive. Tools like DeFi could step up. Cross-border liquidity pools, decentralized exchanges, these let people swap value directly on their own rules. No middleman, no government red tape. Sure, the space is still small and regulators are figuring out how to handle it. But it's pointing to something big, a world where value moves freely, with fewer political roadblocks. Nobody knows how long this tariff war will drag on. Could be a quick storm, but it's exposing how fragile our centralized systems are and how much damage they can do in such a short time. So on the flip side, it's a wake-up call. Maybe it will push more of us to rethink the status quo and build a decentralized world with more freedom and fairness. It won't be easy, and there will be bumps along the way, but I believe it's worth chasing. So that's all for today. That's the view of the people around the world about all that. What do you think? Are you Team Trump on these tariffs? Or what's your take on China's comeback? What's your take on this group effect that we have in China? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm all ears. And if you vibed with this video, give it a thumbs up, share it around, and maybe hit that subscribe button. And click on the bell, so you don't miss on the next one. And of course, if you want to keep the conversation going, my Telegram is in the description. Merci et au revoir.